three. Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I am back for another episode of my podcast, Macro Social Work Your Way. So today I have a special guest, and I'm super excited about this guest, like all of my guests, but this one specifically because this person has had a recent macro career win, and how it all came about is just like it sends me over the moon. So first, I'm gonna say, hey Wondesha, how are you doing?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing great.
Good. So I'm so excited that you agreed to be here. Like Wondesha was like, yeah, whatever you need me to do, I will be there. I love it because before we hit record, we were talking about Wondesha's journey, and it really truly is awe-inspiring. So first, introduce yourself, Wondesha, to the listeners. Who are you as a human, and what do you do professionally?
My name is Wondesha Gums. I like to consider myself as a well-rounded human, I guess. I try to be flexible and fit in where I can and just also try to help lend in hand. So currently, before I start my new role in August, my new macro role in August, I currently work with the homeless population. They either have substance abuse issues or mental health issues, and I work um, in a case management style of social work
Okay. How long have you been a micro social worker?
for about 4 years.
Okay. Have you always worked with the same population?
So I've worked with different populations. I worked with victims of sexual assault. I worked with children with developmental disabilities. I worked with the incarcerated population. I worked with the migrants that are coming in. So I have diverse experience dealing with various populations.
I love that. I love that. And I have a question, and I think I'm going to start asking this question going forward. I normally ask it during get to know you chats. And that question is, what was your goal when you hit apply on your MSW degree application? What was your goal career-wise? What did you want to do in the world?
Mhm. So it's funny because at first, my career goal, I went to do for my undergrad, I went to do criminal justice. So I thought I wanted to do like law enforcement work, criminal justice work. Um, so after graduating, I applied to those roles, of course, and it just wasn't fitting for me, I should say. Um, so every job I would apply to after that would entail a social work degree. So I'm like, hey, am I just getting assigned to apply for my MSW? So it just was all the roles that I thought was fitting for me and best for me, or that I wanted, required a social work degree. So that was the goal. I feel like it was just a sign for me, like, hey, this is the route. This is your route.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So what was your process of looking for macro social work positions on your own before working with me, before reaching out to me? Let's talk about
Okay.
that.
Okay, so before reaching out to you, I've been I heard about macro social work when I was, of course, in my MSW program, but for some reason they don't highlight it as much, I would say. I will always hear like, the macro, meso, micro roles and but most people that you go to school with or professors, they have like micro positions, or they branched out to macro positions, obviously, being a professor and all these things, but it's not really, I would say, highlighted in school, graduate school. So I've heard of it before, but what I had to do, which is how I came across your page, I did my research. I joined macro social work groups on Facebook. And then I looked up on YouTube macro social worker, the roles, what they do, and that's how I came across your profile on YouTube, and watching your podcast and just hearing you talk. And then I went to your page. I went down a whole rabbit hole. I went down your page. I signed up for your emails, and I was like, okay, she makes so much sense. She resonates with me. Like literally when I was getting your emails every day, it was how I was feeling every day. Like you would send an email like, do you not want to get up to go to your macro case management job? Are you burnt out? And I'm like, yeah. um, so I kind of did my research first. I'm like, okay, I guess because I didn't have any macro experience and just the case management experience, I didn't know how to go about searching. So I actually did not search before I had my one-on-one session with you because I just didn't know which direction you were given. You were stating great points on your podcast and your YouTube, and it was just like it's like I have all the information, but how do I put it to use? Like yes, yes. So um, I didn't do my search until after. Yeah.
Okay. This is good. So now it's left me wanting to know something else. So what did you see or what did you experience personally or professionally that made you want to shift to macro work? And I may have missed it, but was there like a pivotal moment in your career where it's like, I'm just making this up? Um, for me, let me give a real example. For me, it was this glaring equity issues in the workforce development system that I worked in as a career counselor, aka case manager, that made me want to shift, as well as wanting to change my own life and make more money. But what was there a specific moment for you where you're like, I want to do something more? And I'm asking, this is for the listeners. I'm asking Wondesha this question because I have no idea what job Wondesha landed. Like, I just know she has landed a job. But before we get into the job, was there a pivotal moment, a moment where you experienced a paradigm shift?
I think for me, I knew I always wanted to help. But I think the pivotal moment for me is just after graduating and just feeling so burnt out with case management in my career. I think for me, and I think just for my mental health in general, like I realized I did not want to work directly with individuals no more, but I didn't completely want to cut out helping and assisting, um, the people that we serve or clients or whatever. Um, but I'm like, how can I still help, assist, and be a social worker without being in the field and in the forefront and working directly with them? Um, so that was the pivotal moment for me. I think my pivotal moment was burnt out and just realizing like, this is a lot. This is a lot. I still want to do this work. I still love this work, but how can I do this work in a capacity, in a way that is gonna benefit me as a person and just, make me um, continue to do the great work without feeling, suffocated. So
That's major, right? And I wrote down in my notes that you didn't, and this is me paraphrasing, that you didn't want to stop assisting and helping the people you worked with. You just
but
wanted to do it in a different capacity.
that's it.
A few months ago, I discovered the hashtag on Instagram, a former social worker. And I was like, what is this? And then I went down the rabbit hole, and there were posts there about people who had left the profession of social work. And all of their stories were kind of one and the same of they had gotten burned out on case management, direct practice level work, and they completely left the profession. And I'm talking about that because that's some of the reason why I am so adamant about working with social workers, because I work with all people who want to do mission driven work. Um, but specifically social workers, because I'm like, y'all have paid for these degrees. And then also at a deeper level, you care about the people. So when
Right.
I get social workers saying like, I'm leaving to go into tech, and it's not even like tech on a issue, like a issue that they're creating some type of app or something like that to make access better for people. It's like a full-blown tech career. And I'm like, how are you going to do that? And you're a mission-driven person, right? And so then people end up leaving those professions and then just begin the dreaded cycle again. So I say that to say, I'm glad that you decided not to leave and that you really went out on a search for other alternatives. Okay. So you talked about what was challenging for you to find a macro social work job, about not really knowing how to do it and how to go about it. And then you discovered me and then you went down a rabbit hole and all of the things. Um, so just context for the listeners. Wondesha took advantage of a opportunity that I made available. I don't know what month that was, but I know it was during social work month. I think it
Yes.
was social work month. And it was where I was offering one-on-one 60-minute career strategy sessions at like a heavily, like a special rate. And so before we get into all of that, Wondesha, what made you sign up for that opportunity when I released that information?
So, I really, at first, I don't know if you remember, I really wanted to do your, I think it was your 6 months course, session, but I couldn't, unfortunately, I couldn't do it at the time. Um, but then you came out with this deal during social work month in March, and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. Like, I have to do this. But due to like financial reasons, unfortunately I couldn't it still wouldn't work for me. So I actually decided to reach out to Marthea, and I said, this can go two ways. I said the worst she can say is no, which I would understand completely. Because she gives you other payment options, like with doing monthly installments with PayPal. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that route. Um, so I said, hey, I'm just going to email her, and this can go right or left, and if it's no, it's no. And I asked her if she would be able to break the payment in half for me, where I can pay her the half this week, and the next time when I get paid, I'll pay her the balance. Which she was like, of course. And she's a social worker as well, so she will work with you. Everyone knows, like, social workers, we try to understand everyone's situation. So she was very understanding, and she didn't hesitate to say yes, I'll make it work for you. So I was very happy about that.
I love that, right? Because, and Wandisha, I'm sure you have heard me like, I used to know I think I'm funny. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, it's the equivalent of like when you're out and about for me, and a man is like, "Hey, let me talk to you. I'm gonna give you my phone number just because you were bold enough to ask." Right. So when Disha asked about the arrangement, I didn't even think about it because I was so excited that she reached out. Right. Like I'm really into this about helping people get jobs. Like I think about it more than I probably should in my off time. So when she reached out, I was like, because you have, of course, let's do it. I want to work with you. So because I really truly am on a mission to get more change makers in the positions where they deserve for their own personal lives, but also to move the needle closer to progress for the others who they serve. So I love that you shared that. Let's talk about what your journey was like working with me. Because again, for the listeners, it was a one-time 60-minute career strategy session. And just a little like information, I'm currently offering the same opportunity. I just released it yesterday, where I'm offering a limited number of spots of one-on-one 60-minute career strategy sessions. And Wandisha taking advantage of this opportunity really paid off for her tremendously because she got a job. And sometimes I think when I tell people these things, that career coaching really can help you. They don't believe me. So when Wondesha was like, yeah, I'll come on, let's talk about the thing. I loved it because it can really show people that it could work for you if you do the work. So what was your journey like working with me, like that day that you logged in for your strategy session and then we went through what we went through during that hour? What did that process feel like for you? What were your takeaways from it?
Honestly, I would like, just to sum up everything, I felt like working with you was very refreshing because it was like I had so much doubt and frustration and like, oh my God, how are you gonna help me translate my case management roles into macro roles? Like, what are you like, how are we gonna figure out what jobs I can apply for or whatever? And then working with Marthea that day for literally an hour, she like broke down everything, my with like my passion, my goals, and then literally just summed up one big role and helped me to try to get towards roles in that direction. And I'm just like, at the end, I was just like, oh my God, wow. Like, wait, it was that easy? Did you really just tell me about myself and what I like to do? Like, you know what I mean? It was so, I think it was very refreshing. It was very helpful. Like, I just couldn't, I'm like, when I reflected back to myself, I was like, wow, she really knows what she's doing, because for her to like just sum up what I love to do and my passion, um, just offer our meet, it was just, I'm like, wow. I
I
don't know, like, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And just for like context, there's no prep time to the thing. The clock starts when you log in. And that's when she told me all of the things. And that comes from the years of really studying the jobs that are out in the world and listening to people's experiences. And then also just like really having a good sense of where people get stuck. So I'm glad that was beneficial to you. So let's
Yeah.
talk about, and I want you to be super, not saying that you wouldn't, but be super honest. Tell the people, what challenges did you experience after that session? Where did you get stuck? Did you have any moments like
Yeah.
that?
Yes. So I actually literally, sorry, I actually literally got stuck right after. Like, I had all the tools. I'm like, okay, yes, I had my 60 minute session. I feel motivated, right? Um, but then when I went to apply for positions, I'm like, wait, uh, this it was just like the roles that I was like, this doesn't sound right. Like, I don't like what I want to do. But I think I was just going to by my passion and everything. Like, I wanted it to be completely, I just wanted everything, every point that we discussed to be knocked off. And in reality, I realized like, you're gonna have some things that you may not like, but if it's more pros than cons, definitely still go for it. But I can say I was stuck right after. Um, like, I wanted to apply for jobs the next day. I'm like, listen, I have my tools. I know what I want. I know what I'm passionate about. I know what I want to do. But when I'm doing the job search, I'm like, wait, I don't know if it was just like a brain fog or something, but yeah.
Okay. So like when you were looking at the job descriptions, you were trying to make certain that every bullet matched all of your things that you
Yeah,
identified that you wanted to do. Okay. Which is
correct.
understandable, right? And so for people listening, I'm just hearing this for the first time, so I'm going to explain why. So for women, and then on top of that, minority women, we feel like we have to match every bullet on the paper. But I love, so like I'm talking about when it comes to qualifying, but I love that your shift was, it wasn't a matter of if I qualify, it was, does this job meet my non-negotiables of the things that I wanted? I love that one, Disha. Because do you
Mhm.
think you would have been that way prior to the session? Do you
No,
think you would have been looking for, okay.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. It was one, after the session, it was one thing you said to me that made me feel like, no, she's absolutely right. You stayed, we remember, I don't know if you remember, we talked about me landing a fellowship role in policy work, right? Just to get that experience. but you looked at my resume and you was like, girl, you don't need no more experience. You have after this, that's done. Like you have what you need to pivot into your macro role. And I looked at her like, you sure? And just after like realizing like, being in the field for years, I have my education experience, I also have my working experience, just my knowledge. And I'm like, Marthea is right. I don't need nothing else. Like either I'm gonna, get the ball rolling, and I felt like I'm in my career where I don't need to settle for less. Like, it's just also about knowing your worth too as well. And I feel like I realized my worth when she's like, yo, no, you don't need no more experience. You got this, you got all the tools, just I'm gonna show you how to word it, and this is how you can say, oh, I did this and I did that. And so I actually really appreciated that, because that made me realize. So when I was applying, I'm like, if the money wasn't, I'm like, no, I deserve this salary because this is what experience that I have. And then also bringing back to the point, another reason I guess why I was stuck in the beginning when I first tried to apply for roles, even though everything wasn't hitting all of my bullet points, I realized I also what Marthea said, this is your first macro role. I guess it doesn't have to be everything you want, because after this, you're gonna get the ball rolling with other macro roles. So in my head, it was just like, yo, Wondesha, this is your first macro role. It's okay. Once we get in, that's it.
Exactly. I love that. I love that because that speaks to what I talk to people a lot about. I do it a lot on my Instagram stories. I need to do it more publicly. I operate very different from like resume writers and other career coaches out there because their intent is to keep you a forever customer, meaning they'll rewrite your resume just for that one job or teach you how to just get one type of job. And then you have to come back to them every time you want to apply to a different job, every time you want to make a change to the thing. They don't teach you the skill. I teach people how to fish because I don't want to see you again when it comes to these types of jobs. Now, if we want to talk about leadership and different roles like that, yeah, come back to me. Let's do the thing, or upscale and move into a different salary bracket. Let's do it. But what I really teach my career coaching clients are the fundamentals. And this is what I do heavily in the full program as well. I have micro to macro career accelerator alum who landed their first 2 macro jobs like months after they finished the program with me, but now they're working on getting their 3rd and 4th macro job. I have people who are being recruited for their 3rd and 4th macro job by major universities, one being Harvard, another one, another university, people who are working on employee assistance hotlines. Everybody knows what that is, answering calls and things like that, with only a few years of experience in the workforce after graduating with their MSW degree, but now they're being flown across the country to go interview for senior level executive leadership positions in higher ed and have never worked a day in higher ed. It's because I have taught them the fundamentals to getting a job. I teach you all how to fish. So I'm glad that you talked about the value part also, because honestly, at the root of it, because I used to be guilty of the thing. That's why I know what it is, but I sometimes don't say it enough out loud for y'all to hear it back. I don't think I do. Ultimately, the reason people stay stuck in jobs where they are clearly being undervalued or underpaid or whatever the thing is because of something internally where you don't view yourself as valuable. Right. But when the day shifts and you realize that you out, that's why I try to show you all in black and white on paper, you have value. Even if you don't think you do on paper, and I'm going to show you in black and white. That's why when people find me on the internet and ask me generic questions about how to get a job and how to do the thing, I can't tell you. I have to ask some questions, and it's going to take a process. I can't give you a one-off response. So I'm glad you talked about that and that shift happening for you. That means I did my job.
Yeah.
So it also means that Wondesha will never be stuck. You can leave when you want to leave because you know how to get a job. Once you know how to get a job, you're unstoppable. So I love that for you. So you talked about your breakthrough moment, the moment things turned around. Were there any other moments for you, like after we worked together, or maybe it was when you got your job? Were there any other like aha moments after that session?
Yeah, when I landed my role, it was so funny because one of the bullet points or that you listed in our session, our initial session, our 60-minute strategy session, it said, okay, you like to do technical assistance first, you like to educate people, you like to do this. And in my job responsibilities in the description, it stated providing technical assistance. I said, whoop. I said, look at this. I was literally, it was a haha moment because I'm like, go Marthea. Let's first off, and how ironic and a coincidence is that? So, yeah.
Love that. Okay, so let's get into the final results after working with me. Tell me about it. Wait, I didn't tell you this before we hit record. Don't tell us the name of the organization, but tell me a little bit more about what you're doing, the population that is supporting all of the things.
Okay, so first I would like to say, even after I landed this role that I'm about to discuss, I actually had another interview, another macro role position working with an elected official.
What?
Yes, do like as a mental health policy analyst. So
Oh, wow.
yes, so that was very exciting. I was like, look at me, just and these was all roles I applied to after our session, all macro roles, of course. Is So that was exciting. So that was so I actually got two interviews and I got, one position. Anyway, but still I was very excited. But so my new role, I'll be a program specialist for one of the state departments. And I will be providing technical assistance and implementing new programs and policies for vulnerable populations. In my new role. So I got to in this role, which is why I'm very excited, is because I'm actually not working directly with clients no more. Um, I'll still be assisting them implementing the programs that they would need to assist them. So um, that's why I feel like I got really blessed and I'm very happy because I'm not gonna be in the field no more, but I can still pop in and see that whatever program that we brought down from the state is going well and assisting them um, in whatever needs they may have.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Mhm.
So, one of the it's not a common question anymore. That's how I could tell I'm doing my job because I'm planting seeds. But one of the questions that I used to get asked a lot by people is like, what are considered to be macro jobs? And this is for the listeners. Depending on what piece of literature, scholarly literature you read, the definition will be different because the macro side of social work is not clearly defined. That's why it's so hard for y'all to get jobs in macro because it's not like the clinical side of the profession where you know what it is, you know the theories, you know the process to get the jobs. Macro work is more elusive, right? So everyone's different definition, depending on who you are listening to, will be different. My definition for macro work is that state level, regional, national, international level work is considered to be macro work. So to hear you talk about the fact that you're working with the State Department and you are doing work around ensuring that how I explain that is making certain that the people are getting what they're supposed to be getting under the law, right? You're acting as a watchdog. But also at the same time, the training and education that you're providing is not to, and I haven't heard the full details, but I'm just going off of what I know about this type of work. You're not providing education and training development to practitioners. You're providing that support to the leaders, the key decision makers of these statewide entities of how are they looking your state. So I love that. And if I remember correctly, you live in a major city. You don't have to say what city, but I'm thinking about it out loud. So that's major. That's
Mhm.
major. I love that. Okay. And also what I wrote in my notes is about the fact that you got 2 interviews and 1 job offer. So how long did it take to get the two in? Well, the first one or both of those interviews. Like, what was the timeline? You got offered a
A
call.
month.
A
About
month.
a yeah, a month.
So within
Mhm.
30 days.
Yeah. So 30 days.
So you found the jobs, applied to the job, and got an interview. See, I keep
Yes.
telling y'all, like, this isn't for Wondesha. This is me just talking to the people. Like when people be like, I have been looking for a job for years. You need help. There's something going on. Like, and I'm not being funny. So I love that, Wondesha. I love that you were clear on your non-negotiables. I love
Yeah.
that you have really taken charge of your career and that you
Mhm.
got all of that clarity and assistance on your non-negotiables, what you should be looking for, how to position yourself, that you got all of that in 60 minutes and you really hit the ground running with it. So congratulations, congratulations. This is major. To wrap up this chat, is there something that you would like to leave with the listeners? Anything? A
Mhm.
thought, a takeaway, a word, anything that you feel led to share, I'm sure it will help someone.
Yes. So, I would like to say, stop thinking you don't have experience, because that was me. That was me. I was thinking like, what is like like I stated before in grad school, they don't really highlight macro. It's always working with patients, clients, caseload, or a client doing this and all of that stuff. I just realized like that wasn't for me. I don't really care for clinical work, I should say. But I you stop thinking you don't have the experience, because you do. And that's something I learned after working with Marthea. And now that I landed my first macro role, it's going to give me experience that I actually never had, dealing with budgeting and stuff, which I don't have experience. So don't think that a job wouldn't take you because you don't have that sort of experience, because I didn't. Like I said, Marthea shows you how to say whatever, to be like, I can do this. I've dealt with this. So I'm actually excited, I would say. But yeah, just stop thinking you don't have the experience and skills. You do. You just need to know how to communicate them. And just thanks for listening.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I just want to wrap up by saying, like, you all are sitting on skills and experiences that you can use to get a job. Wandisha just told you when she worked with me, she had the application filled out for was that a paid fellowship or unpaid?
It was paid. Yes,
It was
paid.
paid, okay. But it still was a fellowship. And a
Yeah.
fellowship is temporary. It ain't a
Yeah.
job. Right. And
Yes.
so she was already like lined up for the thing. I'm like, we need a job. You can get a job. So I'm glad that you really found the information. One, reached out. I really truly, that is major because you were the first one. And I've been on the social work streets for 4 years. You were the first one. And then two, for being open and coachable. That's major, right? You took the information that I gave you and implemented. You didn't try to remix it and add in things from other people that you've heard on the streets. It didn't work for you. Within 30 days, you got 2 interviews for jobs that you would have never imagined. I love that. I'm so excited. Please keep me updated about your journey. For those who are listening, right now I'm offering strategy sessions again just for the month of June. If you are interested, click the link down in the episode show notes and secure your spot. They are already selling out. Like I started with a certain number on Friday, people are already scheduling. So you too can have an opportunity to really dive deep into what do you have that you can use to make the transition. Until then, happy macro career planning. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.